Happy New Year, everybody. It is the 1st of January 2023, and I thought no time like the present to give you a tour of the outside of the house, of the garden, of the area that we're planning to turn into the flower farm and the pumpkin patch. And I just thought I'd talk a little bit about where we're at and some of the plans that we have for 2023. So the site itself is just shy of an acre, most of which is made up of this back garden out here, which is all grass, very much a blank canvas for us to do whatever we want with. We do have like a smaller section of garden out the front, which I'll show you later on and tell you what we're thinking about doing with that. But for now, I'm going to take just a little walk around the perimeter of the site, just to give you an idea of the scale of what we have to work with. Okay, let's go. I'm about halfway down the garden. It does take quite a steep slope down here. You don't realise it till you're actually down the end of the garden looking back up. But this section here behind me, down as far as the pole and about a third of the way across, is where we're thinking about putting the polytunnel. The reason being is that it's really the one large flat part of the garden. The rest of the garden is all quite undulating. So if we were going to put it, say, on the opposite side like we were going to originally, it would take a lot of groundwork, and we're trying to save ourselves the time and the expense of that. So we're thinking the polytunnel is here, and believe it or not, when you're standing here in the wind, this is actually the most sheltered part of the garden. So you've got the hedge along this side, you've the hedge down there, plus the house is over this side, so it's kind of taking the brunt of the wind that comes from that way. So we're thinking the polytunnel in here behind us, we're thinking maybe around 50 foot by about 18 foot. Again, we need to look into what size this actually is. We need to measure it. We need to see what suits here. We're going to measure it out with sticks and twine and do it at the exact size and the height that of the one we're going to get, because obviously we don't want it to impede the view. Now, because it's down and the house is set kind of up, it shouldn't impede the view that much, but it's just something that we need to do and kind of check for ourselves to make sure we're happy with it going here and we're happy with the size. So that will be, I'm hoping to kind of do that soon enough, because then we can work out the finances that we need to put aside for the polytunnel. So that will be another day's job. But at the minute, this is where we're thinking of putting the polytunnel. Okay, so if we have the polytunnel like here, I'm thinking the compost bins in this corner. Now, compost bins. So in an ideal world, I would have the compost bins really close to the chicken coop, because that's where I take the most stuff out when I'm cleaning their bedding. It would make sense to have them very close, so I'm not going too far with the wheelbarrow. But where we're going to think of putting the chickens, and I'll show you in a minute, there's a very small stream running behind them, and if I put the compost bins there, I'm worried about them leaching into the waterways, and there's really strict laws about things like that. So I'm thinking the furthest distance away from the water is over in this corner. But it will also suit because it's very close to the polytunnel, and I would obviously take a lot of stuff out of there at tomato time of the year when I'm doing like cutting them back and things like that. So if I do put the compost bins down here, yes, they are far away from the chickens, but it is all downhill, so it's not too bad. So up here on this side is where we're thinking about putting the chickens. I'm going to bring it up there now and kind of talk through why we think that that's the best place for them. Okay, so we're thinking chicken coop, chicken run here. The reason being is that this area across the stream, it's very overgrown, it's briars, it's bushes, it's long grass, and it's the sort of stuff that chickens will absolutely love getting in, pecking, scratching. They'll have the time of their lives. It also means that they'll still have plenty of space because the rest of the garden is going to be cordoned off to keep them out. Basically, we've learned the hard way that chickens and pumpkins don't mix. Chicken and flowers don't mix. They just absolutely destroy the place. So we wanted to have somewhere that they would be happy. They would have the space to get out, do their thing, while the rest of the garden was still kept safe from them. So we feel that this is the ideal solution. So coop here, we'll have to do some sort of little bridge across the stream for them, which is fine. But also we're kind of killing two birds with one stone here, because as you can see, all the stone is flattened down, and that's because there's a neighbour's cows getting in through there and they're getting into the garden. Obviously I can't have that with the flower farm and the pumpkins, so we're going to have to, like, this is the only section here that they can get through because the rest of it is all briars and hedge. So if we had this cordoned off from the chickens, it would hopefully stop the cows getting into the garden and destroying everything, because if I think chickens are bad for destroying stuff, cows be 10 times worse. Now I know some people are watching this thinking, you can't let the chickens in there, what about the fox, what about the mink? Like, my chickens are currently in flock down because of avian flu, right? They've been locked in their run, they can't go anywhere. And they are miserable. And anybody who has chickens, who has them in lockdown at the minute, will tell you, like, they do find it hard. They like to get out, they like to explore, they like to have their space. So I could build a coop and keep them in that coop 24/7 because it would keep them safe from predators. But that doesn't make for happy chickens. And I'd rather them be happy on the days that they have than cooped up and safe. Like, obviously, like, we'd be sensible about it. Like, they'll have their enclosed run that the coop will be in, that they can be in overnight to keep them safe. And I'm not going to put them out if I've seen a fox around, you know, but I am going to let them out. I am going to let them free range because that's when they're happiest. And, you know, at the end of the day, you can't be too annoyed with a fox taking a chicken because a fox has to eat too. So it's just one of those things. It's nature. You can't prevent everything, and you can't keep everything safe 100% of the time. And sometimes by trying to keep something safe, you're just going to make it more miserable. So yes, our chickens will be out. They will be free range. They will be happy. That's the decision we've taken. Another thing a lot of people were saying was make sure that you put your chicken coop as close to your house as possible for easy getting in and out of the chickens. So this is the distance that the coop will be in relation to the house. To me, that's not that far to walk. They're fine. I can see them from the house. I can hear if there's a commotion. And it's like a 30-second walk. So again, I'm putting them down here because this is the best possible position for the chickens. If I put them out closer to the house, I can't let them free range as easily. So again, the decision to put them down here isn't the easiest in relation to, you know, how close we are to the house, or in relation to how far I'm going to have to go with the wheelbarrow, but when I'm cleaning them out. But it's the best decision for the chickens, and it's the best place to put them, so that's why we are choosing here. So just for a quick recap, obviously that's the house. Polytunnel will be going down there, and the chicken coop is going here where I am standing. So that's as far as I've gotten, really, to be completely honest with you. We're also putting in a shed. We know that's going more up the top, up near the side of the house. So I feel we'll get the chickens in, we'll get the polytunnel in, we'll get the shed in, and then after that, I think the rest of it will kind of come together, because I feel like until I see them bits up and done, it's going to be very hard for me to decide where the pumpkin patch is going to go, where the vegetable garden is going to go, where the flower farm is going to go. So I think if we have the polytunnel and the chickens, they're the two biggies, and after that we'll work the rest of the space around it. Also, we have a septic tank in the middle of the garden, so that has to be taken into consideration as well. So we have a few things to factor in. So I feel if we get the polytunnel and the chickens done, the rest of it will come easier. So I'm out at the front of the house here. We have two very small squares of garden, and I'm actually really looking forward to doing them, because one thing I realised from the last 2 years for growing flowers, like for a flower farm to sell, is that, like, it's not a pretty garden, because you have certain beds that are finished, so they're sitting there empty. You have other beds that are just taken off. You have some beds that are in flower, and has a kind of disjointed kind of a feel. It doesn't have that nice kind of pretty garden feel to it. So I'm looking forward to getting that feel from the 2 gardens out here at the front of the house. So my thoughts for the front of the house are the larger piece of garden. Sorry, I'm looking at them as I'm talking to you. The larger piece of garden, I'm probably going to leave a circle of grass in the middle, or else I might do like a circle of paving slabs or stones or something. We really get the sun on this side in the afternoon and the early evening, and I'm thinking maybe like a little bistro set to be nice to sit out here. I was gonna say with a cup of tea, but we all know I mean with a glass of vino in the summer evenings and reading your book. And then around the circle I'm going to do big perennial borders, like a real kitchen garden, or not kitchen garden, cottage garden kind of a feel. Like we're talking like delphiniums, dahlias, all bits and pieces like that. Probably like Rebecca, but also maybe put in like a few herbs, like maybe like a creeping thyme and a bit of rosemary, definitely loads of lavender, just so it just doesn't look completely barren during the winter when everything dies back. And then I don't know about the other side. Part of me is like, oh, just do it to match the other side and have the front of the house a real cottagey feel, because it is a cottage. But then the other side of me is like, well, that's kind of boring, so maybe I'll go crazy. Maybe I'll do the other side here like a more of a kind of a jungly feel, like I put in like banana trees, canna lilies, maybe a bit of bamboo, lots of Fatsia japonica, kind of unusual things like that. But then I don't know if the contrast between the 2 sides will look stupid. So then I don't know, maybe I should just go really different and do the whole thing kind of a bit of a jungly vibe, but then that really would look like shit during the winter once it all died off, except if I did a lot of bamboo, Fatsia japonica, and I think it's a Mahonia is the other one, because the 3 of them are really, really hardy and they work really well to give you a bit of colour all year round. So I've a lot of the decisions. I'm kind of thinking, because it is a cottage, I probably will stick with like the traditionally kind of cottage feel, and maybe do the kind of jungly vibe maybe out the back around if we put a deck in or something like that. So I don't know, but I've lots to think about, and I'm just really excited. I have as well, I'll show you, I bought some bulbs in one of the sales before we moved, and when we got here I've just planted them into pots. Now some of them need the compost topped up in them, I need to do that today, but I just thought in the spring I'll thank myself for putting the effort into doing it, because I've got all like different tulips and narcissus, and I've the snakehead fritillarias, and I also have the big ones, the imperialist, is that what they're called? Imperious, whatever. I've got them big ones, and I've got some crocus, and I have some of the word that has completely escaped me, the muscari, the little grape hyacinths. So I have a mix. I did not go for a colour theme, I just got the ones I thought looked nice, so it'll be a real mismatch, but I think it'll look lovely there at the front door. And over time as we move in, I might look at buying some really nice pots. These are just the plastic ones, like they're grand, they do the job, but actually these ones are, this one and this one is terracotta, and they're really nice, so I might get some nice ones to match them, we'll see. But for the time being, what I have is fine, so I'm looking forward to seeing that will then come through in the spring. But yeah, so this is the section, even though it's very, very small in relation to the rest of the space we have, it's a section that I'm really looking forward to doing. So that's where we're at. That's all we've really talked about so far, all we've really decided. Well, I say decided for now. Like, we could change our mind on this tomorrow, who knows. But as it stands, that's where the plan is. So far 2023 is looking like it is going to be a year of a lot of work, but I'm delighted about it. I cannot wait to get started. So as ever, thank you very much for watching. If you want to keep following and see what we do, make sure to hit subscribe, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Bye.